Hello and welcome to Walk the Pod, your daily walking show where I take my podcast for a walk because I don't have a dog. You're very welcome along. This is episode 2, series 50 on the theme of gifts. My name is Rachel Wheely, tempting you away from your desk at lunchtime to spend 10 minutes strolling in nature, reconnecting with the seasons, paying attention to what's directly in front of us. For just 10 minutes. Welcome along to Walk the Pod. So I said yesterday that we're talking about gifts, and I was saying it's going to be specifically about creative gifts. But I can't continue with the series without covering off the fact that there are lots of things about gifts in general that we could discuss this series. And I think to some extent they sort of fold into the wider discussion about creative gifts. There's been a lot of stuff in my research about how gifts kind of have a funny position in the capitalist hellscape that we all exist in. We think of gifts as being outside of the market economy, but actually because of the sort of obligation within gifts to respond and reciprocate gifts, they sort of exist inside the market economy in a funny kind of way, so that there is a funny and nuanced and quite difficult to explain relationship between how people give and receive gifts and what it means. And some tribes even consider that gifts have a soul, and that if a capitalist takes a gift out of circulation, that kind of breaks the soul of the gift and causes it not to be in circulation anymore, and bad things happen. That's a kind of Maori idea called Hau, H-A-U, meaning the soul of the gift. So I'd be fascinated to know what that makes you think about, if it brings any thoughts to mind for you. And there's some really interesting stuff about the very nuanced rules around gifts in various sort of tribes. The Trobriand Islands have a really complex system where necklaces are exchanged and armbands of shells are exchanged, and necklaces go counterclockwise around the islands and armbands go clockwise around the islands. And imagine living in one of these societies. You're going to understand all of the rules about that completely, but from an outsider's perspective, it's very difficult to understand how the system works. So I don't entirely know how that connects with creative gifts, but perhaps it's got to do with the obligation thing is perhaps the interesting thing there. So if you have a creative gift, do you also have an obligation to use it and to create for the world with the gift that you have? That's an interesting thing that I'm sort of thinking about this series. So I'd be fascinated to hear your thoughts on that. Please go to walkthepod.com, press the button marked, leave a message for Walk the Pod, and let me know if that sparks any thoughts for you. And you can bring in any genre of stuff you want in your response. It doesn't have to be anything that we've ever talked about before. You might want to talk about it from your own very personal perspective, and that is completely fine, even if it's a thing you saw once that connects not with anything else that anyone else will ever have heard of. Don't be put off. And I'm also very interested to hear your walking reports via walkthepod.com, so do get in touch. Now, I had a lovely voice note from a new listener, Cindy in Nebraska, over the summer when we were creating a series for subscribers, and I promised to include Cindy's introduction in the podcast, and I wanted to bring it to you here for the series 50 public series, because otherwise it gets lost in the subscriber only series and you don't get to hear it. So introducing Cindy in Nebraska, who I've had a lovely summer getting to know via voice note. So thank you for getting in touch, Cindy. And I did ask in a previous series, are there any listeners in America? So I'm very grateful to you for getting in touch and bringing me a little of your life in Nebraska. Welcome everybody, a new member of the Walk the Pod Lunchtime Walk Club. This is Cindy from Nebraska.
Hello, Rachel. My name is Cindy from the state of Nebraska in the United States. And I just wanted to chime in and say that I had just discovered Walk the Pod and sort of did a binge on the creativity episodes. And so, as I heard today, you were hoping that maybe somebody from the US would chime in. Here I am. And I've really delighted in discovering your podcast space. It's been a spark of joy and inspiration. Perhaps more on that later as I check in. Right now, I'm walking in one of our local parks near a footbridge, very scenic. Lots of tree varieties. I see a bird that has just lighted into some dead branches, but the whole park is just very, very green. And the footbridge is going over a very quiet stream of water. And so I'm just kind of winding down the day. It's after 8. It is just a balmy, humid 80 degrees here tonight. Very few bugs. And that makes me smile, as does Walk the Pod. So happy to be a pod pal, in a sense, kind of like a pen pal. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I love Pod Pal. It's lovely. I'm going to use Pod Pal from now on, dear Pod Pals. Thank you for getting in touch. And if you're listening in a part of the world that I haven't heard from so far, so anywhere other than Nebraska, Spain, the Netherlands and New Zealand, I think I'm right in saying, please get in touch because I would love to know who else is listening. I would love to hear your walking reports and what you can see directly in front of you, because it will be different from what I can see directly in front of me. And you can do that by going to walkthepod.com and pressing the button marked leave a voice note for Walk the Pod. So now, having spent some time thinking about something completely different to whatever it was we were thinking about at work this morning, being our theme of gift, we're now going to focus our attention on what we can see directly in front of us on our walks, because grounding ourselves in the present moment is one of the most powerful mental health strategies that I think I have heard of. It just reconnects us with what's going on right now. It prevents us from ruminating or planning or reminiscing or any of the things that keep us in the past or the future, and grounds us into the present moment that we have. So I'm going to tell you what I can see directly in front of me, and you can leave me a walking report to do the same and tell me what you can see directly in front of you, wherever you are in the world. And in that way, we all walk together. And that's a lovely virtual walking club that I'm sort of trying to build here. So do that if you'd like to via walkthepod.com. So I'm walking down the side of a grassy hillock in the park behind the hospital where I work. Just seen a couple of magpies. And the magpies are very mischievous and funny birds to watch. They poodle along, they follow things, they're clearly very intelligent. They love shiny stuff, very much reminiscent of myself walking along and seeing a please take box by the side of somebody's house. I think to myself, aha, must look into this box, in just the same way as a magpie does when they spot something shiny on the ground. So that's been rather lovely. There's a parakeet in the tree above me. You can probably hear that if you are one of our eagle-eared listeners. And I can also see lots of, as mentioned yesterday, sycamore seeds, which are in these large pods with big sort of blades on them, which I call helicopters. So if I was saying helicopters and confusing you yesterday, that's why. They look like a helicopter as they're falling, because they twirl round really fast, fluttering down from the tree branches onto the ground. So I can see lots of those around. And there's plenty of people out today because it's quite nice weather. A little bit of white cloud in the sky, which is a beautiful shade of blue. So a lovely day in the park, and people enjoying a last bit of September sunshine before we get into more tumultuous weather in October, November, and the rest of the winter months, which seem to go on and on forever when you're in the middle of them. Take care of your beautiful mind, dear friends. Thank you for walking with me today. It's been a delight to stretch my legs with you this lunchtime. I always look forward to talking to you. It is my absolute oasis in the middle of the day. So thank you for being with me today. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to go to walkthepod.com to leave me a voice note. I'd love to hear from you, particularly if you're somewhere in the world that I haven't heard from before. And I'll be bringing you episode 3 of our current series on gifts tomorrow.